Hello, parents. Welcome to Meet the Teacher Night. I am Mrs. Peterson, and I will be your son or daughter's Introduction to Computer Programming in Java teacher this year. This class is only a semester long, so there's not a lot of time to get into programming, but we will be learning all the basics of programming. For instance, how to communicate with the user, both input and output, how to do conditional statements, our if-else statement, how to repeat actions in programming by using a for loop or a while loop or a do while loop. So all of these things we'll be covering this semester, which means that we'll also be covering some basic logic with ands and ors. And hopefully at the end of the semester, we might be able to squeeze in methods. We probably won't be able to do object-oriented programming because, really the purpose of this course is to introduce students to programming methods, all the basics of programming. But hopefully we might be able to get into methods by the end of the semester. Okay, so I am going to go through just a couple of slides to introduce myself and to introduce this class and some of the things that are required, like the textbook, and other things like my grading policies. Okay, so let's start off with the first slide. This is the 2021 school year and a little bit about me, myself. I was born in Pennsylvania and was raised in New Jersey, and I spent 13 years in Catholic schooling from kindergarten to 12th grade. And when I graduated, I ended up in the state of Indiana as a Boilermaker at Purdue University. And I went to Purdue for a computer science degree. And while I was getting my computer science degree, I had noticed that I really enjoyed mathematics. So I selected almost all my electives in math, and then I also selected electives in electrical engineering. So at the end of my 4 years, I ended up with 2 bachelors, one in math, one in computer science, and then I had a minor in electrical engineering. Little did I know I had actually used my mathematics degree as a teacher here at Seton, but right out of college, I was given a job offer by Intel, and I worked at Intel as a programmer and a manager of engineers for 15 years. And while there, I got married and had 4 kids, James, Brandy, Danny, and Ben. 2 of them, the first 2, went through the public school system, and when the second 2 came around, we decided that we would send them through the Catholic school system. So they went through St. John Bosco and graduated here at Seton Catholic just a couple years ago. Well, while I was home, after I quit after 15 years, I decided that I couldn't really stay at home and be that mom that I had expected that I would love, because I had been working since I was 12 and I was just going stir crazy being at home with just little kids. So I decided to get my substitute teaching certificate, and I subbed over at St. John Bosco for a number of years. And then while I was there, I had the opportunity to tutor high school math students. And that is where my love for mathematics and teaching came into play. And I was hired at Seton as one of their Algebra 2 teachers in 2013, and I've been here ever since. So last year, I decided that it was time to have a programming class, a Java programming class here at Seton that taught just the basics of programming. So I petitioned administration to add this class to our curriculum, and they approved it. And now I will be teaching the Introduction to Programming in Java class. So what will this class require? Okay, so the very first thing is it's going to require computing programming fundamental concepts using Java, that textbook. And that textbook we've purchased as a school, and we will loan it out to your student for the semester. They'll be able to take it home. It is a hard copy book. But just be forewarned, I don't want to have my books coming back all beat up and water logged and things like that. So if a student does return their book in really bad condition, there probably will be a fine for it as the schools purchase these books. So right now you are free from purchasing this book, which is awesome. And any written work that we do in this class will be taken from this textbook, and it's a great resource. Your students should take the time to look through it and read. There will be reading homework assignments and some written work, but this book has some great explanations and really good examples of programming. Obviously, if this is a programming class, we're going to have a development environment on our laptop. So your laptop is definitely critical to coming into class every day with a nice charged laptop. Okay, so we're going to be using as our development environment IntelliJ IDE from NetBeans. It is a development environment where all of our programs will be developed here. It's kind of a intermediate type of IDE environment. It's not a hand-holding environment, but it's not as robust as some of the ones that are used professionally, like at Intel. So it's kind of a nice mix, and it should be easy once they learn this environment to move to any college-required IDE at their institution, at the university level. So we will be learning how to program in this environment, and we will also be learning how to debug. I'm going to hopefully take them through how to trace programs, how to trace variables, how to step through programs so that they can help, learn how to debug their logic errors. All right, so how about my homework and my grading policies? This is obviously a very important topic. Well, for this class, the whole entire class is going to be project-based. It's going to be all about students taking the knowledge that we learn in class and using it to develop programs and to solve problems. There's going to be a lot of time in class set aside for programming. So students, while they'll have to program at home, there's going to be a lot of programming done in class. So if you don't see programming at home a lot, that could be because your student has already done some programming and they've been able to get through that programming projects in class. So again, we're going to be using the IntelliJ IDE to create all of our programs, and it's the community edition, and it is free. All code has to be commented. Any code that they work on must be commented. That's a mandatory thing out in the real world. It's a mandatory thing in college, so I'm going to make sure that it's mandatory here in my class. And all work must be submitted by the due date. And I'll talk to your students as to how all work will be submitted. Just as a reminder that just this kind of like a math class. Programs and concepts that we learn in class, they all build off of each other. So for instance, I can't prompt a user for input if I don't know how to print something out to the user. So for instance, I can't say enter a number if I don't know how to print out the words enter a number on a screen. So if they are not completing their projects in order, they're not going to be able to complete their current project. So it's really important for the students to stay up to date on all of their work. So what are my grading policies? Well, our projects category is going to be really the only category that we have. It's 100% of the overall grade. Students, if their projects meet all of the instruction requirements and they've commented their code, they will get 100% of the points. It doesn't really matter how they create their program. It could be 100 lines, or it can be a really nice, elegant program done in 10 lines. Doesn't really matter as long as all the functionality is there and they comment their code, 100% of the points. If they decide not to comment their code, there will be a 10% reduction, so the best they can get is a 90%. And then if they turn their work in late, there'll be a 50% reduction in their project grade. And because this is the first time I'm running this class, the very first semester for it, everything's already planned out. All the projects are planned out in Canvas, but I have nothing to really gauge myself off of how fast to go through this course or how slow students might take, or the amount of time students might take to really learn concepts. So some of those due dates may be flexible, but your student, I will definitely make sure that all of the deadlines are clearly communicated. All right, so if you see that your student is struggling, what can you do? Well, I put a couple of pointers here. Don't wait to get help if you see them struggling. if they're struggling on concept A, they're going to be struggling on concept B. So immediately contact me. Maybe we can set up a tutor. Maybe they can come to and utilize 0 and 8th hour. A lot of students say that they're utilizing these times, but a lot of them don't show up because obviously, socializing sometimes takes precedent, and I get it. They're high school students. Pay attention to how they're doing their homework, because if their homework time is being interrupted by television or YouTube videos or changing songs on their phone, that's really important. It'll take their homework time and double or triple it if they're not really focused on it. And then just frequently check their grades in Canvas to see how they're doing and follow through. So here's my contact information if you ever need to get a hold of me. The best way to get a hold of me obviously is email. I marked that on the left hand side of this screen. And my email address is jpeterson@setoncatholic.org. You can also call me on my phone at extension 2134. That one's a little bit more difficult. I've had cases where my phone blinker for a message doesn't go off, so I usually ask parents to email me because that will be the quickest way. I check that often throughout the day. Well, I hope this slide set was informative, and I hope that your students really enjoy this programming class. I really would like to instill a love of programming in them, because it's one of my favorite things to do. Even though I haven't been at Intel programming in years, I still pull up my IDEs and develop little programs here and there that help me with some of the things I do at Seton and at home. So it was nice meeting you, and hopefully I'll see you throughout the year.